When you watch an elite athlete perform at their absolute peak, whether it's like a grand slam in tennis or a 90-mile-per-hour fastball or even just a three-point buzzer beater, there is this illusion of simplicity, right?
Oh, absolutely. It looks completely effortless.
Right. It looks so smooth.
Yeah.
But then you look closely at a professional golfer and you realize that within the span of roughly 1 second, there's just a violently complex chain reaction happening.
Yeah, violently complex is a good way to put it. The margin for error is, well, it's virtually zero.
Exactly. But before we get into the sheer mechanics of that motion, imagine finding out that the primary reason you slice the ball like 40 yards into the woods isn't your swing path, but a microscopic wrist angle called the 33 disaster.
Which is incredibly common, by the way.
Right. Or what if I told you that you no longer need a $20,000 laboratory to fix that swing because the smartphone sitting in your pocket can now map your kinematic sequence using artificial intelligence?
It's wild. I mean, the landscape of golf performance has completely shifted. We've really reached a point where the technology has finally caught up to the physics.
Yeah.
That 1 second motion you mentioned, it's actually a sequence of explosive, highly coordinated biomechanical events. We aren't just guessing anymore. We can actually measure the invisible forces that make or break a golf swing.
And that is exactly what we're getting into today. Welcome to part 10 of our 10-part educational series exploring the science of golf biomechanics, kinematics, and ground reaction forces. We're thrilled you are joining us for this finale.
The big finale.
Yeah. Over our past 9 sessions, we've broken down body movement and power generation. But today, this is the masterclass. We're synthesizing a massive stack of specific data here.
Tons of data. From HackMotion's 3D wrist sensors and kinetic measurements from Swing Catalyst.
To the AI launch monitor data from Watchit Golf, plus biomechanical insights from eCoach 360. We're taking all of this and building your definitive guide to the modern, scientifically backed golf swing.
Which means today, we aren't just looking at what happens in an elite swing. We are going to examine precisely why the body reacts the way it does,
Right.
The invisible forces driving that motion, and exactly how you can apply these principles to your own game to achieve real consistency, distance, and accuracy.
So to really understand this, I think we have to isolate the most critical moment of the swing. The primary difference between a scratch golfer and a high handicap amateur. It doesn't actually happen at impact, does it?
No, not at all. It happens way before that, right in the transition from the backswing to the downswing.
Right.
The initial milliseconds of that transition dictate literally everything that follows. Elite power is not about brute physical strength. It's about temporal sequencing. Exactly. If you fire the wrong muscle group at the wrong time, you bleed power, you compromise the club face, and then you're forced to make these emergency adjustments right before you hit the ball.
Which never works out well. I always like to think about this in terms of a car.
Yeah.
Just to separate kinematics from kinetics.
Oh, that's a great analogy.
Right. So kinematics is the motion we can see on camera, is the chassis of the car moving down the highway. We can look at a video of a tour pro and say, oh, look at that beautiful kinematic motion.
Sure.
But kinetics, that's the force we can't see. That's the engine generating torque and the friction of the tires gripping the asphalt.
Yeah, stuff pushing the car.
Exactly. If you're just chasing a visual position you saw a pro hit in a magazine, without understanding the underlying kinetic forces pushing them into that position, well, you're essentially just pushing a car in neutral and expecting it to win a race.
That is honestly the biggest trap in golf instruction right there. Chasing those aesthetic positions without building the kinetic engine.
Yeah.
It's exactly why so many players struggle with lost distance and wild inconsistency. I mean, you can manipulate your body to look like a pro at the top of the backswing.
Pose for the camera, basically.
Right, pose for the camera. But you cannot fake the underlying forces required to get the club back to the ball.
So how do we actually build that kinetic engine? I want to pull from Coach Don's concept over at Perfectly Fit Golf. He describes the downswing as a 4-speed manual gearbox.
I love that framework.
Yeah. And the fundamental rule of this biological machine is really simple. If you skip a gear, the entire system breaks down.
It completely falls apart. Every single body part has a specific job, and they have to fire in a strict chronological order.
So break that down for us.
Okay, so gear 1 is your lead side knee and pressure shift. That is the physical trigger. You're moving your body's pressure into your lead side before the big rotational movements even begin.
Okay, so pressure left for a right-handed golfer.
Exactly. Then gear 2 is the torso turn. You are rotating your rib cage around your posture, and you're supporting that rotation using the ground force you just created back in gear 1.
And then we hit gear 3, which is the arms finally returning in front of the body, and finishing with gear 4, the hands and wrists releasing the club head through the ball.
That's the sequence.
But wait, I have to push back on this sequence for a second. If I want to generate maximum speed to hit the ball as far as possible, my arms and hands are the fastest moving parts of my body, right?
Sure, they move the fastest.
So why wouldn't I just fire my hands immediately from the top of the swing? I mean, it feels like that would be way faster.
It definitely feels faster to your brain, but geometrically it's a recipe for disaster.
Really?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
If you jump straight to gear 3 or 4 from the top of the swing, you are completely bypassing the massive energy potential of the ground and your largest muscle groups, your legs and your core.
Ah, so you're leaving all that power on the table.
Exactly. And when your arms accelerate too early, they physically run out of room to travel. This leads to what we call casting, where you throw the club head out early, kind of like casting a fishing rod.
Oh, I've definitely done that.
We all have. You lose all the stored angle in your wrists. Because your lower body stall, your upper body is forced to heave the club over the top of the ideal swing plane.
Which gives you that steep, weak slice.
Right. Force must precede motion. The ground powers the torso powers the arms, and the arms power the hands.
That makes total sense when you break
Okay.
down the physics of it. Which it leads us perfectly into some fascinating data from the eCoach 360 platform regarding that critical transition period, specifically how you control your sternum.
Right, sternum control is huge. When we look at high-fidelity 3D kinematic data of elite players, their sternum remains functionally aligned over their pelvis during that initial transition.
So they aren't falling backward.
Exactly. They don't immediately tilt their spine backward away from the target to try and scoop the ball up. The rib cage stays centered as the pressure moves into the lead side.
And a massive component of keeping that sternum centered is what the lead shoulder is doing, right? When I first read this, it seemed completely counterintuitive. You actually want the lead shoulder to delay its rise on the downswing.
It feels counterintuitive because, well, you know the ball has to go up in the air. You want to lift it.
Right, your brain says up.
But the lead shoulder must stay down until the lead arm is parallel to the ground on the downswing. We call this a load-to-explode sequence.
Load to explode, like that.
By keeping that lead shoulder pointed downward, you're maintaining your body's inclination to the ground. That posture allows you to push massive vertical force down into the turf.
And then Newton's third law kicks in, right?
Exactly. Newton's third law dictates that the ground pushes back with equal force. That ground reaction force is what eventually drives the lead shoulder up and out of the way through impact.
So if you prematurely lift your shoulder,
You lose your leverage against the ground, and you waste all that potential energy.
wow. Okay, so we've established how the ground pushes back, your lead shoulder rises, and your torso rotates.
Yeah.
But all of that massive rotational energy is completely useless if it doesn't transfer to the golf club.
Completely useless.
And that transfer happens through the steering wheel of the trail arm. I was looking at this HackMotion data, and it completely broke my brain for a second. It just dispels all the myths about what the trail arm is actually supposed to do.
The trail arm is arguably the most misunderstood component of the swing. The definitive takeaway from the HackMotion data is that your trail elbow and your trail wrist must operate independently of one another.
Independently.
Yes, they absolutely do not share the same positional structure during a good swing.
So they outline this as the 3-in-1 concept. Position 3 is the assignment for the elbow. Position 1 is the assignment for the wrist. Let's unpack the elbow first. Position 3 means the elbow is externally rotated.
Right. So the pit of your elbow is pointing outward. It's the exact awkward position your arm is forced into when you are losing an arm wrestling match.
Right. So by pointing the pit of the elbow out, you're physically locking the shoulder joint into a stable position where it can effectively transfer all that rotational force we just talked about.
Exactly. It keeps the elbow tucked in front of your trail hip during the downswing. But here's the trick.
Yeah.
While the elbow is locked in position 3, the trail wrist must be in position 1. This means the wrist is slightly extended, bent backward toward your forearm, but the palm is not facing outward.
Wait, I have to stop you there because the 3-in-1 concept is a bit mind-bending. If my elbow is externally rotated, pit pointing out, but my wrist is extended with the palm facing down toward the ground,
Yeah.
doesn't that put an impossible twist on the forearm?
It sounds like it would, right?
Yeah. How does a professional golfer maintain that torque without snapping their wrist?
Well, it does create tension, but it's a necessary functional tension. Your forearm bones, the radius and ulna, they're actually designed to cross over each other to accommodate this exact type of torque.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, and when we look at the precise numbers from the sensors, an elite player naturally sits at about 10 to 15 degrees of wrist extension just at setup.
And as they take the club back to the top of the swing, they crank that tension up to, what, 60 to 70 degrees of extension?
They do. But the real separation between a pro and an amateur happens at impact. Elite players do not let that wrist flatten out when they hit the ball.
They hold on to it.
Yes, they retain 20 to 30 degrees of that extension right into the strike. That retained angle is the mechanical secret to creating forward shaft lean, which violently compresses the golf ball and stabilizes the club face through the turf.
So if you're standing on the first tee tomorrow, what does all this science actually mean for your swing? Let's bring this out of the laboratory and onto the grass. What does it look like when this kinetic chain completely fails? Because I know I've been there, and I know our listeners have been there.
Oh, absolutely. Let's start with the sternum and shoulder sequence we just mapped out. When that fails, you see what biomechanics call the early tilt fault.
Ugh, the dreaded early tilt.
It happens every day on every driving range. An amateur golfer wants to hit the ball further, or they subconsciously try to lift the ball into the air, so they tilt their upper body away from the target way too soon in the downswing.
And here is where the physics of the human body just take over, right? Because you tilted your heavy upper body backward, your center of mass shifts dramatically.
Huge shift, yeah.
Your brain realizes you are about to fall flat on your back, so it forces your pelvis to thrust forward toward the golf ball just to keep you balanced.
That is the exact mechanical definition of early extension. You lose your posture, you move closer to the ball, and you completely lose control of the low point of your swing arc.
It's a chain reaction of terrible events.
It really is. Because your body is out of position, your only option to save the shot is to rely entirely on timing your hands at the very last microsecond.
And speaking of the hands failing, we have to talk about what happens when that 3-in-1 trail arm concept goes wrong. I teased this at the start of the show. You call this the 33 disaster.
The 33 disaster is when a player externally rotates both their elbow and their wrist.
Oh, man.
Yeah, so the pit of the elbow points out, which is good, but the palm of the hand also points out, which is catastrophic.
Because that leaves the club face pointing basically at the sky, right? It is wide open to the target line.
Wide open. You're coming down into the delivery zone with a club face that is massively open. And your brain is a supercomputer. It instantly recognizes that if you continue this path, you're going to slice the ball 40 yards into the trees.
So your body just panics.
Total panic. The only way to save the shot is a frantic, high-speed flip of the wrists at the very bottom of the swing to try and close the face.
The dreaded flip.
Right. And this adds what we call dynamic loft. It essentially turns your 7-iron into a pitching wedge at impact. You lose all your compression, your energy goes up instead of forward, and your strike becomes incredibly weak and inconsistent.
I want to touch on one more real-world failure, which brings us to a methodology discussed over at World Class Golf. The phrase deep to shallow. If you spend like 5 minutes on golf YouTube, you'll see this everywhere.
Oh, it's everywhere.
Everyone wants to shallow the club. But most players are completely misunderstanding the physics of how to actually achieve it, aren't they?
Completely. The intention behind the trend is valid. You want to prevent that steep over-the-top swing path. But the application is often entirely backward.
How so?
Players hear the word shallow, and they actively try to drag the club behind their body with their hands early in the downswing.
Like they're trying to create this massive sweeping baseball loop.
Exactly. And when you artificially pull the club behind you, your arms become physically disconnected from the rotation of your torso.
Ah, so you've just broken the 4-speed gearbox.
You shattered it. Proper shallowing is not an independent action you force with your hands. It's a natural result of pivoting correctly.
A result, not an action.
Right. If you maintain your spine tilt, use the ground correctly, and hold that trail arm structure, the club will naturally shallow itself. You have to match the swing plane to your specific bodily dimensions, your arm length, your torso rotation. Shallowing is a byproduct of the sequence functioning correctly, not some parlor trick you do with your wrists.
So we've outlined these invisible kinetic forces and microscopic wrist angles. But how do coaches actually measure these things? I mean, we can't see 20 degrees of wrist extension with the naked eye. The technology revolution in golf right now is just staggering.
The tech stack available to coaches today is fundamentally changing how we understand human movement. If you walk into an elite facility like Complete Golf Performance, you aren't just getting a coach's subjective opinion on your swing anymore.
What are they using?
You're stepping onto a swing catalyst system, which uses sophisticated force and pressure plates synced with high-speed video to measure exactly how many newtons of force you're pushing into the ground, and in what direction.
And it doesn't stop at the ground. They're using KVST to get lab-quality 3D data on your kinematic sequence, and even the Dragonfly Smart Suit.
Yes, the Dragonfly suit.
That's full-body 3D motion capture that you could actually wear outside on the grass, not just in a sterile indoor lab.
It's unbelievable. These tools allow us to pinpoint exactly which gear in your gearbox is failing, down to the exact degree of rotation and the exact millisecond of the swing.
But here is the wildest part to me. You don't necessarily need to travel to an elite lab to get this kind of data anymore. It is quite literally in your pocket.
Yeah, smartphone tech is crazy right now.
I was watching Dennis Quaid's Viewpoint program recently, and they featured Watchit Golf. They developed an app, PXE and PXC, where you just set up your iPhone on a tripod, and using artificial intelligence, your phone acts as a highly accurate launch monitor.
It is entirely democratizing sports science. By simply using a standard smartphone camera, their AI algorithms can calculate club head speed, ball speed, carry distance, launch angle, and smash factor.
And if you use their premium integration, where you set up two phones simultaneously, it unlocks the kind of data you used to pay thousands of dollars for.
Oh, yeah. When you introduce dual cameras, the AI can triangulate advanced three-dimensional metrics. It measures club path, face angle, and precise shot dispersion. It can even calculate your spin axis.
And this directly relates back to the mechanics we were just talking about, right?
Yeah.
Because if the AI measures a severely tilted spin axis, it's basically identifying that you just committed the 33 disaster we discussed earlier.
That is the beauty of it. The data validates the biomechanics. If your trail elbow and wrist are both externally rotated, the AI will instantly flag an open face-to-path ratio in the data.
That's incredible.
And plus, it catalogs everything into a digital video locker. You hit a shot, the AI maps the metrics, and your coach can send you back a time-stamped video analysis directly through the app, connecting the raw data to the physical feeling of the swing.
Which is absolutely vital, because as anyone who plays this game knows, what you feel like you are doing and what you are actually doing are rarely the same thing.
Rarely ever.
Okay, I want to demand some homework for you, the listener. We've covered the heavy science, the gearbox, the common faults, and the incredible tech. How do you actually train these biomechanical concepts the next time you go to the driving range? Let's get into some practical applications.
Perfect. Let's start with correcting that deep to shallow misunderstanding. The best way to train the proper sequence is the pump drill.
Walk us through the physical feeling of it.
Take your normal setup and make a slow, controlled backswing to the top. From there, you're going to pump the club halfway down, stopping right at the delivery position. Your sole focus during this pump is feeling your trail elbow dropping in front of your trail hip.
So you're maintaining that position 3 elbow structure rather than throwing the club out. I can add a visual when. Imagine you're trying to skip a heavy stone across a pond.
Oh, I love that.
You wouldn't throw it from the top of your shoulder. You drop your elbow in front of your hip, shift your weight, and rotate your chest. That's the exact feeling of the pump drill.
That is a brilliant analogy. From that paused delivery position, you rotate your chest hard, as if you're hitting a low punch shot. You are training your brain to rotate the club through the ball, rather than throwing the club head with your hands.
And you just repeat that.
Yeah, do that pump and rotate motion 3 to 5 times to groove the mechanical feeling, and then on the 6th motion, step up and hit a real golf ball.
I love that. Okay, what about the trail wrist? How do we train the body to hold that 20 to 30 degrees of extension at impact so we stop scooping the ball and adding all that dynamic loft?
For this, the audio feedback extension drill is incredibly effective, particularly if you have access to a HackMotion sensor. You put the sensor on your wrist and set it to trigger a continuous audio tone when your wrist hits that optimal 25 to 30 degrees of extension.
So you take your normal setup and you literally just push your hands forward, creating that forward shaft lean until the device starts beeping.
Yes, exactly. You're establishing the physical feeling of the correct impact position before you even swing. Then you rehearse very slow swings, concentrating entirely on retaining that forward shaft lean and keeping that audio tone playing through the strike.
That's great feedback.
It provides immediate, undeniable feedback. If you start to break down and flip your wrist, the tone stops, and you instantly know your sequence failed.
And for my absolute favorite visual, If you struggle with an open club face and losing that wrist extension at the top of the swing, you have to try the motorcycle drill.
It is a coaching classic for a reason. When you reach the top of your backswing, simulate grabbing the throttle of a motorcycle with your trail hand and vigorously twisting it backward.
Revving the engine.
Exactly. That physical revving motion actively increases your trail wrist extension, pushing you toward that ideal 60 to 70 degree mark we talked about, and it subtly closes the club face.
Making things so much easier on the way down.
Right. By setting that angle at the top, you are perfectly positioned to just turn your body and release the club, completely eliminating the need to frantically manipulate your hands at the last second.
So if we step back and look at the big picture of this entire 10-part series, whether you are analyzing the invisible kinetic energy of ground reaction forces, mastering your 3 spine bends, or dialing in your trail arm extension, it all comes back to Coach Don's 4-speed gearbox.
The sequence is king. Deep to shallow is a result of good mechanics, not a goal you can force. Every single body part has a highly specific job, and they must fire in the correct chronological order.
The ground, the torso, the arms, the hands.
Yes. When you respect the kinetic chain, the kinematics,
Yeah.
that beautiful, effortless motion you see on camera, they take care of themselves.
But before we officially close out this series, I know you have one final provocative thought you want to leave everyone with.
I do. We spent 10 sessions breaking down the pure physics, the data, and the biomechanics of the perfect swing. But I want you to consider this. How much does your mental state dictate your biomechanics?
Oh, wow. That's a great point.
Tension is the enemy of kinematic sequencing. When your muscles are tight from stress, they physically cannot fire in the correct order no matter how many times you've practiced the pump drill.
Right.
So the next time you step on the first tee, ask yourself, is your mind relaxed enough to allow your biological gearbox to shift smoothly, or is anxiety grinding the gears?
If you found today's episode valuable, please subscribe to our channel. Every subscription helps us continue producing high-quality educational content for golfers and coaches worldwide. If you have a question, topic idea, or golf challenge you would like us to research, test, and explain, please leave a comment, contact us on LinkedIn, or send us an email. Don't forget to explore the eCoach 360-degree Golf Intelligence platform and experience our 48-hour free trial. You can also join our 30-day Golf Biomechanics, Kinematics, Ground Reaction Forces, and Club Kinematics certification program to deepen your understanding of golf performance.